Next question from Silent Wolf.
Hi, I really enjoyed reading the first 3 books in the Chronicles of Ancient Darkness, and I can't wait for the 4th to be released over here. I heard that in Australia it won't be coming out until November. Is this true? I have some other questions to do with past books. There are clans such as the Kelp Clan and the Oak Clan. What are their clan guardians? And Torak has his wolf fur and Wren her raven feathers. What do these clans have? Will we ever find out what Torak's far's name was? Also, I had some theories about the last book, Ghost Hunter, because at the end of one of the books, when Torak is talking to Fincadin about soul eaters, Fincadin is saying what each of them does, and he says that one can summon the dead. I was assuming that the person he referred to was Eostra, so I thought that she might summon ghosts or something and Torak has to hunt them. P.S. Please don't kill off Wolf.
Well, as to killing off Wolf, I'm not going to tell you what happens in the end. Of course, you probably guessed that. Your guesses about the last book, Ghost Hunter, based on what Fincadin tells Torak, it's a good guess. But again, I'm not telling you, except to say that Eostra will be featuring heavily in Ghost Hunter. Will we ever find out what Torak's father's name was? No, we won't. I think I've mentioned that in a previous question, because, of course, you can't mention the name of a dead person for 5 summers, and the series will end before 5 summers have elapsed since Wolf Brother. Yes, some people are curious about what kind of clan creature skin, if you like, would the Kelp Clan and the Oak Clan have. The Oak Clan, there are not many Oak Clan left, actually, so... but those that are would use acorns or acorn cups because, of course, oak bark is much too stiff to weave like willow. The Kelp Clan, you can make rope out of kelp, and so there'd be a twist of sort of cord or rope. That's what they would wear. And finally, is Outcast coming out in Australia in November? I think... if that's what you've been hearing, that's probably true. It's always a few weeks after Outcast comes out in the UK, so that will be about right, and I really hope you enjoy it.
Now this comes from Lynx. Hey Michelle, I have a couple of questions about the way you plan and write your books. How long did it take you to think up and plan Chronicles of Ancient Darkness? How many agents, publishers did you have to pitch your idea to before your series got signed? How did you actually plan your books? Have you filled up tons of notebooks with ideas and facts, or did you keep it all in your head? Thanks for filling so many of my otherwise wasted hours with something to do.
Well, planning Chronicles of Ancient Darkness, it might surprise you to know that the basic outline only took a week. It was very strange. I realised that Torak's story doesn't end with Wolf Brother, and I sat down in my little garden and I just planned the other 5 books in a week. It felt as if I was discovering the story rather than making it up. And that doesn't happen very often for a writer, so it was terrific when it did. How many agents and publishers did I pitch the idea to? I think it was about 6 or so, but very soon I realised that Orion were absolutely the best, because they just were. How did I plan the books? I haven't filled up tons of notebooks. I just have one small purple file with a cartoon of a wolf drawn by my younger sister on it, and that holds all the plans for the synopses for each of the books, the character notes, the outlines of each of the stories. That's my master file. I also have other files which hold all the research notes, and those run into at least a shelf load of research notes. But the actual story notes, not that many.
Next question comes from Pipsy G.
Hi Michelle, I have 3 questions for you. The first is about the Viper Clan. When people in Torak's world say goodbye, they will usually say something like, may the Guardian run, fly, or swim with you. I was just wondering what people from the Viper Clan say, because may the Guardian slither with you doesn't sound very good. My second question is about wolves. I read in the acknowledgements of your books that you have spent time with the UK Wolf Conservation Trust, so I wanted to know if you were in any way involved with wolf pack management run by Shaun Ellis. My third is about the 5th book. I'm guessing it will be set in the deep forest, after reading Outcast. Will Torak meet the forest horses? Because I love their clan creature and hope they're a friendly clan. Thanks for your time reading my questions, and I loved Outcast. It was brilliant. Thanks again for your time.
Well, I'm really glad you enjoyed Outcast. Just going back through your questions, you asked about the Viper clan. Yes, I agree with you. May the Guardian slither with you doesn't sound too great. With clans like that, where it's not appropriate to say run or fly or swim, they tend to say may the Guardian hunt with you. And the same applies to the tree clans. About wolves, I haven't actually been involved with or worked with Shaun Ellis. I think that's partly, I respect his work and I've read his book, obviously, The Wolf Talk, but that's partly because I have such a good relationship with the UK Wolf Conservation Trust and with the wolves there. I know the wolves there, they know me. I've known the 3 cubs, Torak, Mai and Mosey, since they were tiny, so they know me, and so it's probably best for me to do my research with them. The 5th book will be set in the deep forest, Oathbreaker. Yes, Torak will meet the forest horses. Of course, he's already encountered them just on the borders of the deep forest in Spirit Walker. They were a bit suspicious and mistrustful then, and I'm afraid they haven't improved. So they're not exactly friendly, I have to say. Yes, they've got a beautiful clan creature, but they're a bit paranoid, the forest horses, although they have good reason, as you'll find out in Oathbreaker.
This comes from Polcat. Hi, I've just got a few questions to ask. When the Wolf Clan says that the Clan Guardian run with me and the Ravens fly with me, what do the Tree Clans say? Are there other clans off the map? Couldn't Torak make the Soul Eater tattoo into something else? Are the gestures of wolf talk Torak uses real? Do you have a horse? I saw it in a photo. I like horse riding. Do you? When did you see your first wild wolf? I saw one in Spain. Thanks, from Polcat.
Hi, Polcat. Well, the wild wolf, I actually haven't ever seen a wild wolf. It's quite rare to see a wild wolf. You're lucky to have seen one. I've heard them. I've heard them howling in the Carpathian Mountains of Romania. I've seen footprints, paw prints, I should say. I've seen their scat. I've seen their hairs. And, of course, I've met them in captivity. So you're lucky to have seen a wild wolf. Do I have a horse? No, I am far too busy travelling to have a horse of my own. But I did the first Wolf Brother research trip in Finland on horseback. That may have been where you saw the picture. Are the gestures of wolf talk that Torak uses real? Most of them are, because I have tried to make the wolf talk as real as possible. Of course, when I mentioned the odd sort of glance that he gives and that sort of thing, some of those are known only to Torak and Wolf, of course. Couldn't Torak make the Soul Eater tattoo into something else? That wouldn't have worked, because the marks themselves have a power, and if he just added a few other ones, it wouldn't actually take away the fact that it's a Soul Eater tattoo. Are there other clans off the map? There may well be, but Torak doesn't know them. So we're not going to find out everything about the planet on which Torak's world exists, although it is, of course, Earth 6,000 years ago. When the tree clans want to greet or say goodbye to someone, they would usually say, "May the Guardian hunt with you." Now, trees, of course, don't hunt, but that's in the sense of the spirit of the forest being alongside them when they're hunting. So that's generally what they would say.
Next question comes from Torak and Wolf.
What inspired you to write in the time period you chose, Torak and Wolf?
Well, I've always been keen on the time of the hunter-gatherers, which is after the Ice Age and before farming came along. I think the reason for that is that my parents had a huge, beautiful illustrated book that I used to look at even before I could read, and it was all about hunter-gatherers, and it had very dramatic pictures of people hunting and making clothes out of animal hides, and I think that's what inspired me to set the stories in that period.
This is from Spitfire. Hi Michelle, I love your books, they're the best. I finished each one in about 2 days each. So I just wanted to ask you what you thought was your best research trip for Chronicles of Ancient Darkness. Thanks.
Well, isn't it amazing, Spitfire, that it took you 2 days to read each book and it takes me about a year to write them? But I'm delighted. My best ever trip, they're all terrific, so I don't know if I could choose an absolutely best one. But one of the most magical was swimming with the killer whales in North Norway for Spirit Walker, because it was winter time, so there was snow on the mountains, it was freezing cold water, but I was nice and warm because I was all bundled up in a beautiful rubber dry suit, which kept me nice and warm, and just floating in the water, looking down into this beautiful green light and seeing a killer whale swimming underneath me. That was that was pretty magical.
This is from Shadow Wolf Girl.
I was wondering what a few other clan tattoos were.
Well, you know, Shadow Wolf Girl, it's difficult to describe the other clan tattoos, particularly in words rather than, you know, drawing and everything. And I don't want to give too much detail. Some of those clan tattoos you're never going to find out, because I think you're never going to find out everything about the forest, and it would destroy some of the mystery if you did. So this is a long way of saying I'm not going to tell you.
This is from Amber. Yay! Please, sorry, I'm kind of high, because I can talk to you, so I apologise if this is rubbish. How would you yourself describe Torak and Ren? What clan would you be in? How did you research the time period you were writing about? Where did you go? Right, now time for me to blabber. I share a birthday with Torak. Midsummer! Woo! Sorry, I had to say that. I do, seriously. My dad one day just got me Wolf Brother off the internet, signed and all. And in a few days I go back to school and start my band. All the best for the future, Amber.
Well, good luck with the band. How would I myself describe Torak and Ren? Well, I do describe them in the book, so I don't think I can characterise them, because you pick up what they're like from the books. But just in terms of what they look like, people sometimes ask me, what exactly does Torak look like? He's dark, of course. He's got dark hair. He's got quite brown skin compared to Ren, who's pale and freckled. Torak's got light grey eyes, quite narrow eyes, a bit like a wolf. And rather like a wolf, he doesn't smile a lot, but when he does, it's really quite heartbreaking. He's quite thin, although he's growing up a little bit in Outcast and the later books. But for the rest, I think I'll leave him to your imagination, and I think that's the best way to do it with characters. What clan would I be in? Well, if I had to be in a clan, I think I'd be in the Raven clan. And I think that's because they don't travel around too much, but they don't stay put all the time like the Seal clan. They're not religious fanatics like some of the Deep Forest clans, and they have a terrific leader in Finkedin. But sometimes I think to myself that maybe I wouldn't be in a clan at all. Maybe I'd be a bit like the Walker, only cleaner. How did I research the time period I was writing about? Well, of course, a lot of the research was done in the libraries, you know, reading quite detailed archaeological and anthropological books. And then it was going to different places in the far north and talking to people who still live in traditional ways, like the Sami in Lapland, the Inuit in Greenland, American Indian tribes in northern Canada. And that's given me some of the little touches and the tips about hunting that go into the books. I think there's more on my personal website as well, michellepaver.com, in case you're interested. And happy birthday to you for Midsummer.
This is from Black Knight.
Hello, Michelle. My question for you is, do you have signing parties? Because I was hoping, please, if you might visit Tucson, Arizona for a signing party. You have a lot of fans in Arizona. Sincerely, Black Knight.
Well, that's great to hear, Black Knight, and I love Arizona. I spent time in the Four Corners region a few years ago. I do signings. At present, I have no plans to come to the States again, but if my American publishers ask me, I'd be only too happy to. So let's hope that at some future time I'll get to Tucson.
This comes from Sparrow. Hello, Michelle. After reading Wolf Brother, Spirit Walker, Soul Eater and Outcast, which were all absolutely brilliant, by the way, I'm now very curious to know how you came up with all the interesting names for your characters. Did you research names while you went on all those trips to get information for your books? And also, what prompted you to start writing this series? Thanks, and good luck with your amazing series. Oh, P.S. And an Outcast, I saw that you wrote that Torak's Far was so powerful at magecraft that he managed to transform from human to wolf for a short time. When you wrote that, did you mean he literally transformed or figuratively?
Well, I'll take the last question first. Is it all in Far's head, or did it really happen that he turned into a wolf? Well, that's for you to decide. Many of the things that happen in the books could have a rational physical explanation, or they could be actually, you know, demons and spirit walking and that sort of thing. It's really for you to decide in your own mind. What prompted me to start writing the series? Well, I think if you have a look at my personal website, there's a little account of it on there. It goes back to when I was a child and I was keen on wolves and the Stone Age, and then meeting a bear in Southern California helped give me a kick in the right direction. The names, yes, The short answer is I had to make them up because we don't know a single Stone Age name. But in fact what I did was I got inspiration from sounds from old European languages like Old Norse, Inuit, and yes, as you say, sometimes on my travels, the Sami language, for example, in Lapland. So I thought I'd made them up. But some of them not completely made up, it turned out. Torak actually means perfect in Inuit, which I didn't know at the time, but it was kind of spooky when I found out.
This comes from the White Wolf.
Hi Michelle, I absolutely love your books, especially Outcast, which is definitely the best so far. My favourite character is Wolf. I was wondering, who's the character you are most proud of in terms of that you are pleased with how they turned out, and why? Thank you so much for writing these wonderful books and taking the time to answer my question, the White Wolf.
Well, thank you for that. Which character I'm most proud of? You know, I can't say a particular character. I'm very proud of the Soul Eaters, each and every one of them. It's terrific fun writing bad characters, and each of them is very bad in a very different kind of way. Of course, I love Torak, and I love Ren in their different ways. I'm hugely proud of them because they now feel very, very real to me, and I hope to you too. But if someone put a gun to my head and say, okay, you have to choose one, I think it would have to be Wolf. I love being Wolf when I'm writing his character, and he often surprises me, so I'm particularly fond of him.
This comes from Bonnie. Hello, I was just wondering how many books there was going to be in the total in the whole series if you have decided that. I really hope that to everyone else this isn't the most well-known thing ever, and I've just gone and asked about it. Thanks so much for writing your wonderful books.
Don't worry, I'm always asking obvious questions as well. Actually, there are going to be 6 books in the series. There were always going to be 6 books, and that's the way it's been planned. The last 2 books, just in case anyone hasn't picked it up yet, will be Oathbreaker and Ghost Hunter.
This comes from Wenig Wolf.
Michelle, I'm very sorry that I'm not telling you how much I love your books and stuff, because I'm sure you get tired of reading it all. I do love your books, but on with the question. Okay, I'd really like to know how you create books, but it's much deeper than that. I have an idea for a book. I asked my brother and some other guys in my class about the books they read. But when I asked about if the main character was a girl in any of the books, they said no. I know that boys usually read about boys, but girls read about girls and boys. So my real question is, how do you make a book where the main character is a girl and still have boys really want to read it? I'm going to try to make her as cool as possible so they might at least read what the book is about. If you have any suggestions, please share them.
Well, I actually think the best thing to do is ignore your audience. Don't worry about who's going to read your book and just concentrate on the story. Being cool, if you start thinking about it too much, you're not going to be cool, and neither is your character. The best thing to do is just write a story that you really want to write, and don't worry about who's going to read it. And that way, probably lots of people will want to read it because you'll care about it. That's what I did with The Wolf Brother.
This comes from Rkeeper R, who says, can you tell me the time it took you to write the books, the time you think it will take to finish the series, any information on your research of the animals and lands you write about, and any help you've had?
Any help I've had? Well, I don't get help with writing the stories. They're 100% my stories. I do get some help with doing the research, and that's all mentioned in the author's notes at the back of each book. You know, if I go to see snakes and somebody helps me see them for Outcast, that sort of thing. Information on my research generally, I think there's quite a lot about that on my personal website, michellepaver.com. The time it takes me to write the books, it takes me pretty much a year for each book. Which might sound a long time, but then it's, a couple of months for the research and the planning, and then maybe 5 to 6 months to do the first draft, the first putting down onto paper of the story, and then the rest of the time is rewriting and polishing and cutting out the boring bits. So, yeah, it takes a long time. So at the moment I'm working on Oathbreaker, and next year I'll be writing Ghost Hunter, but of course it'll only come out the following year because they have to do all the pictures and everything.
This comes from Kerry.
I've been reading your books again recently, and I was just wondering how you and so many other great authors managed to link everything together. I want to write a book, and I have no problem thinking up a main character or a rough storyline, but I can never figure out how to put that all together as a story. Do you have any advice that would help me? Thank you in advance.
Well, you know, working out a plot is one of the most difficult things when you're an author. So there is no easy answer, there's no formula. But here's something that helps me anyway. You're absolutely right to think of a main character and get to know your main character first. Write a little biography of him, just, a couple of pages on what he or she likes, dislikes, looks like, that sort of thing. Then work out, what does your character want? Because in most stories, the main character wants something. Like in Soul Eater, Torak wants to rescue Wolf. That's his aim. So you be sure before you start writing your story that you know what they want. And then you sling a whole load of obstacles in their way. For example, in Soul Eater, Torak wants to save Wolf, but he encounters blizzards, he encounters Soul Eaters, all sorts of things get in his way. And that might give you an idea for sort of plotting out a rough storyline. What's the main character's aim, and then the obstacles. Good luck.